I am Betty Michelle, and I am beyond excited to have you join me for my podcast, The Purpose Talk, your weekly dose of inspiration, biblical truths, practical guidance, and heartfelt conversations, empowering you to live a life of purpose, creating the life you've always dreamed of. Each week, you'll join me to embark on a journey towards discovering your purpose, truly uncovering the unique gifts and talents that define you, and gaining clarity on the direction your life is meant to take. We will embark on a journey to pursuing your dream, following the passions that ignite your soul, and turning your aspirations into reality with unwavering determination. Taking bold steps to live out your true calling and transforming your intentions into impactful actions that lead you to a fulfilling and purpose-driven life. So join me every week on this journey to pursue purpose. It's one worth taking. Let's go. Hi there, Purpose Walk community. Welcome back to another episode of The Purpose Talk, where we explore how to live out our God-given calling in today's world. I'm your host, Betty Michelle, and I want to take a moment to thank you for joining me. Wherever you're tuning in from today, know you are part of a community seeking to live with greater intention and purpose. Today's topic is something I know many of us are facing: clarity amidst chaos, finding purpose in turbulent times. This episode is all about discovering how the most challenging, confusing moments of our lives can be a source of clarity and purpose, pursuing the ways God uses adversity as a catalyst for growth, and how we can learn to pursue purpose through the most difficult times in our lives. And lastly, acting by discussing how to find resilience when the world feels uncertain. I'll share personal stories, discuss biblical truths, and give you practical, actionable steps you can take right now to move forward in your own journey, no matter how chaotic life may feel. So get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's dive in. Here's the big question: how can I discover and pursue my life's purpose amid chaos and adversity? All right, let's start by addressing a hard truth. Life can be really messy, especially when you're wearing multiple hats and juggling countless responsibilities. Let me give you a glimpse of my typical Tuesday. I pick up my daughter from school and head to pick up my oldest son for tennis practice, while leaving my middle child at school for cross-country practice. I then rush 15 minutes up the road to take my oldest to tennis practice, jump back in the car, and drive another 15 minutes to get my daughter to tumbling class, only to jump back in my car and drive 15 minutes because it's now time to pick my middle child up from cross-country. And then I swing back around to grab my daughter from tumbling and finally get in the car to pick my oldest up from tennis practice. And that, my friend, is just a Tuesday routine. Sounds exhausting, right? By the end of it, I've spent 3 hours in my car driving all over town to get my kids to their extracurriculars. Why? Because as a mother, I prioritize their interests, even when it comes at the expense of my time, money, because my tank practically screams for help. And let's be honest, my mental health. Life is hectic, chaotic, and sometimes just plain overwhelming. We must keep pushing because life cuts us no slack. We're constantly managing schedules, handling work, caring for our families, and trying to find moments for ourselves. And let's be real, it's not just moms. Whether you're balancing a demanding job, a relationship, school, or personal goals, life can feel like an unrelenting whirlwind. But what if I told you that the chaos of our schedules and the busyness of wearing multiple hats are not just distractions? What if there's an opportunity for God to reveal something deeper to us in the middle of all of this craziness? What if these messy, overwhelming moments are actually divine invitations to discover our true purpose? When you're running from one activity to the next, it might feel like there's no room for anything else. But what if that exact mess is where God is doing his greatest work? What if, in those moments of chaos, God shapes and molds us to better understanding our purpose, calling, and path? We all have multiple roles to play: parent, spouse, worker, friend, leader. And it can feel impossible to juggle them all. But I believe even in the midst of our busiest seasons, God is present, calling us to lean into Him and asking us to find meaning and purpose in the midst of the mess. The key isn't about escaping the chaos, but finding purpose within it. I want to share a personal story with you that's been close to my heart and has shaped my understanding of purpose in ways I never expected. My grandmother suffered a stroke recently, and though she is still with me physically, it feels like she's gone in so many ways. You see, the stroke impacted her ability to comprehend. So now she is without voice and incapable of eating. And most days when I visit her, I see her in the physical, but I know that she is not the same person that she was. The person who always cracked a joke, who always fussed about something, who always made me laugh and made me remember that my life had so much meaning. There are no more 5 a.m. texts that say, "Good morning, it's coffee time." No more phone calls where I could vent about the chaos in my life, only to hear her gently say, "Count your blessings." And no more trips back home where I'd watch my daughter run up to the door, walk into the living room, and happily wedge herself between my grandmother and great grandmother as they both smiled, proud and beaming, bragging about how she was their girl and how she remembers them, even though I kept her away too long. They never held it against me. It's strange to feel like you're losing someone who is still there. But in so many ways, that's exactly what it feels like. You see, before this difficult time, God gave me a clear sign to transition from my job and prioritize my family. I had no clue that my grandmother would later suffer a stroke. I just felt a calling to be actively present in the moments where I was needed most. And that came through my children's voices to begin with. But I later understood that to show up fully present in the hospital with my grandmother and to be there for my mother, siblings, and children in the way in which I needed to be, the job that I left would have never allowed it. My job would have never given me the peace or flexibility to take the time I needed, months on end at the hospital. So even though I didn't see it clearly at the time, I was just struggling to make a decision whether to stay or to leave a job. There was so much purpose in letting it go. God had been working out a plan long before I realized it. He knew what was coming, even when I didn't. As it says in Isaiah 46:10, "I make known the end from the beginning, from ancient times what is still to come. My purpose will stand, and I will do all that I please." God sees all things. While we fight for control over our lives and try to plan every step, we can't see past today. Yet God is already preparing us for tomorrow. It's funny, right? We want so much control over our situations, but we can't see what's coming. But God is always working things out in advance, making room for us to be ready when chaos and trouble hits. As Proverbs 16:9 says, "In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." In moments of chaos, we must seek divine intervention. We need to slow down and listen for God's voice because He often speaks the loudest in difficult moments. He helps us to identify the purpose in all situations, even the ones that break our hearts. It's simply our job to listen and seek. This journey with my grandmother has shown me that letting go of the job, the routines, and the pressures, none of it was about losing control, but about stepping into the purpose that God had already laid out for me. And as painful as it's been, I've seen God's hand in it all. The story of Joseph from Genesis 37 through 50 spoke the loudest to me during these times. Joseph's life was full of ups and downs. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. Talk about chaos. But through it all, God was shaping Joseph for his purpose. Each trial and moment of uncertainty pushed him closer to the day when he would rise to become the leader of Egypt and save his family from famine. So, how is the chaos in your life shaping you for your purpose? Think about it. How is the chaos in your life shaping you for your purpose? And have you ever really looked at it in that way? You see, Joseph's story teaches us that chaos is not a sign that God is absent. In fact, it's often in the most turbulent times that God works behind the scenes, aligning circumstances to lead us towards fulfilling our purpose. Even studies in psychology support this idea in the same way, maybe just in a different fashion. Research shows that adversity can foster personal growth and clarity. A story published in the journal Psychological Science found that people who experience significant life challenges often undergo a process of post traumatic growth, where they emerge with a clearer sense of purpose, stronger relationships, and greater spiritual awareness. It turns out adversity doesn't just shape our purpose, it defines it. Crazy, right? But I want you to reflect on that. Has there been a moment in your life when everything seemed to be falling apart, but later you realized that it was actually pushing you closer to your purpose? Just take a moment to think about that. If you feel comfortable, I'd love to hear you share the story with me. You can DM me on Instagram or email me at info@bettymichellemc.com in our Purpose Walk community. I want to support you as you walk through these chaotic seasons and know that someone is there with you. So, how can you start discovering your purpose amidst the chaos? Here are some practical steps. Pause and reflect. In the middle of chaos, it's easy to stay in survival mode, but take some time each day, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes in the morning or before bed, to simply pause and reflect. Ask God what He is teaching you in this season. Often our purpose becomes more evident when we intentionally make space for reflection. Journal through the chaos. Keep a journal to document your feelings, thoughts, and prayers during these uncertain times. You'll start to notice patterns and insights that might not be obvious at the moment. Over time, this practice can reveal what truly matters to you and where God may be leading you. And lastly, look for the silver linings. Try to find small blessings or silver linings in the chaos. What opportunities or lessons may God be presenting you with right now? These can serve as breadcrumbs, leading you towards your greater purpose. Now that we've explored how chaos can help us discover our purpose, let's talk about how we can actively pursue that purpose, even in the face of adversity. Because here's the thing, knowing your purpose is only the first step. And note that I am also pointing out this may just be purpose for a season in your life, and you may still have a yearning to fulfill a greater purpose. But again, finding purpose in these moments of chaos leads to greater purpose. The Bible is full of examples of people who pursued their purpose despite great adversity. One of my favorite examples is Esther. In the book of Esther, we find a woman who's thrust into a chaotic and dangerous situation. She was a Jewish woman who became queen of Persia at a time when her people were at risk of being annihilated. Esther had to choose between staying silent and protecting herself or to speak up and risk her life to save her people. Talk about pressure, right? But Esther didn't shrink back. She stepped into her purpose, even though it came with immense risk. Esther 4:14 says, "And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this." That verse gives me chills every time I read it because it reminds me that we are placed in our circumstances for a reason. Our purpose is often revealed when we step out in faith despite the chaos swirling around us. Adversity doesn't just test our purpose, it strengthens our resilience. In fact, a study from the Journal of Positive Psychology found that individuals who face and overcome challenges tend to develop a higher sense of purpose and well-being over time. This phenomenon is known as adversarial growth. It's when the struggle itself becomes the very thing that sharpens your focus and determination to pursue your calling. When I started to pursue my purpose full time, I had no idea what was coming next. I had no clear plan, no steady income lined up, and plenty of doubt. But I felt God calling me to step out of my comfort zone and follow the path He was laying before me. And guess what? I had to figure out a clear plan of action, how to line up income, and how to get over my doubt. That leap of faith catalyzed everything I'm doing now: coaching, podcasting, and leading Purpose Walk Ministries. But it wasn't easy. There were sleepless nights, moments of fear, and financial uncertainty. However, looking back, I realized that those were the exact moments God used to prepare me for this journey. And let's be honest here, I still have doubts and uncertainties as I continue moving forward in this work. But my yes to God is greater than any doubt or fear I will ever face. With God, all things are possible, and I know that. So what did I do to keep going and trust God for more? Here are some steps that can help you actively pursue your purpose during difficult times, and I hope that they inspire you to do just that. 1, break down your purpose into smaller goals. Pursuing your purpose doesn't mean making drastic changes all at once. Trust me, I've been there. It felt overwhelming when I first got the vision for Purpose Walk Ministry, but I learned that it wasn't about conquering everything overnight. I sat down, wrote out my monthly goals, and turned them into small, manageable steps that I could tackle daily. It wasn't just about setting a vision, but taking action on it consistently. Hear me when I say consistently. Every day for 6 months, I committed to these steps, and slowly but surely, Purpose Walk Ministries came to full fruition. Is it where I want it to be? Absolutely not. But breaking it down into small, manageable steps made it possible to start. And you can do the same. You can start whatever is on your heart. You just have to ask yourself, what's one thing that I can do today to move me closer to my calling? It might be as simple as writing down your goals, sending an email to network, or reaching out to your inner circle for support. These small steps lead to big results over time. Next, take action even if it's imperfect. This one is a biggie for me. Perfectionism used to be a stumbling block, and sometimes it still is. When I was preparing to launch my podcast, I hesitated. I kept thinking, it's not good enough yet, or it doesn't meet my standards of perfection. But you know what? I had to push forward, even if it wasn't perfect. No matter how hard I try, some episodes will never sound exactly the way I imagined. And guess what? That's okay, because I will get better over time. I had to learn to accept the Southern Belle in me, the Southern accent and all. That's just who I am. My listeners connect with me because of my authenticity. And I love me and my community for it. The lesson here, don't wait for everything to be perfect before you move. Perfection will never come, but momentum will. And honestly, if you continue pushing for perfection, you'll never get anything done. I wouldn't be podcasting today if I pushed for perfection. Just simply take action, because taking action creates movement, opening up more opportunities than waiting ever will. Launch the ideal, write the blog, start the project, because action is where change happens. And lastly, surround yourself with encouragement. There's no question that pursuing your purpose, especially during tough times, can feel lonely. I know firsthand that it's easy to fall into self-pity or self-sabotage. Surrounding myself with my inner circle helps me going. A group of 12 women have spoken life into me, my situation, and my purpose. They've been my rock, offering me support, love, and prayer day after day. Having this circle has healed the inner critic in me. Instead of letting that voice of doubt take over, I lean into the encouragement these women have offered over time. They remind me of who I am, what I am capable of, and why I started this journey in the first place. They help me show up as my whole, healthy self and push me forward when I feel stuck. Having a support system like this doesn't just keep you accountable, it keeps you alive in your purpose. So as you pursue your purpose, surround yourself with people who believe in you. They will be the ones who speak life into you when you're feeling low, who remind you of your why, and who help keep you going even when it feels impossible. At the end of the day, pursuing your purpose is about commitment. Break it down, take action, and surround yourself with people who lift you up. Your journey may not always be perfect, but that's the beauty of it. You don't need perfection to walk into your purpose. You just need faith, resilience, and a heart ready to serve God, one step at a time. Finally, let's talk about resilience. It's one thing to know your purpose and pursue it, but what happens when life continues to throw obstacles your way? How do you keep going when the road gets rough? This is where resilience comes in. Resilience is the ability to bounce back and keep moving forward, even when things get tough. And trust me, the road to fulfilling your purpose will always have its share of bumps. One of the most resilient figures in the Bible is the Apostle Paul. Paul faced immense adversity. He was beaten, imprisoned, shipwrecked, and constantly in danger. Yet he remained focused on his mission to spread the gospel. In Philippians 4:12-13, Paul writes, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. Paul's resilience wasn't based on his circumstances. It was based on his unwavering trust in God's purpose for his life. That's the key for us too. Our resilience doesn't come from our own strength. It comes from knowing that God is with us, guiding us, and giving us the strength we need to keep going. Resilience isn't just a trait you're born with, it's a skill you can develop. If I'm being 100% transparent in this moment, as we talk about resilience, it is the very thing that I am exercising to get this podcast out. I talked about the struggle and the family emergency last week. If I'm honest, my life has felt like an emergency for 6 months now. And I had to ask myself, do you keep going and keep pursuing your purpose? Or do you take a step back and call it quits? Resilience is why I am here, because I know that if I just exercise what Paul is saying here in Philippians 4:12-13, because I know that I would see the fruit of my labor on the other end. Paul simply reminds us that when we pursue our God-given purpose, it is not in our strength that we are doing it. It is God who gives us the strength to keep going. And I am exercising every bit of that strength week after week after week. And when I'm over the hump, it feels good. So ask yourself, what does it feel like when I exercise resilience and I keep going? Am I most proud? Do I feel accomplished? Do I feel like it was worth it? A 2019 study from the American Psychological Association found that resilience is often built through intentional practices like maintaining a positive mindset, staying connected to a support network, and finding meaning in adversity. I'm simply asking you today, what is the purpose of your chaos? Have you thought about it in that way? And do you know? If not, here are practical steps to help you build resilience to keep going. And as you take on these steps, I simply ask you to think about the purpose in the chaos. 1, lean on your faith. Pray, meditate on scripture, and remind yourself of God's promises. Philippians 4:6-7 tells us not to be anxious about anything, but to present our requests to God, and his peace will guard our hearts. 2, practice gratitude. Even in difficult times, there is always something to be grateful for. Start a gratitude journal and write down 3 things you're thankful for each day. Gratitude shifts your perspective from focusing on what's going wrong to recognizing the blessings in your life. And that also goes back to the question I asked you. What is the purpose for the chaos? A heart of gratitude helps you to see that there is absolute purpose in the messiness of life. And lastly, celebrate the small wins. Celebrating every small victory as you pursue your purpose is meaningful. It's easy to overlook the progress you're making when you're focused on the end goal. But resilience is built by recognizing and appreciating each step along the way. What small wins are you overlooking? And how do you shift your mindset to focus on those small wins and to celebrate yourself in winning? So, what have we learned today? Chaos is not the enemy, it's a refining tool. In fact, God often uses turbulence to strip away distractions and reveal our true purpose. We talked about discovering purpose in chaos, pursuing it through adversity, and acting with resilience during uncertain times. Remember Joseph, Esther, and Paul, right? Each of these biblical figures faced immense challenges, but they didn't let that stop them from fulfilling God's calling in their lives. And neither should you. And as we depart today, I just want you to know, if this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to take action. Journal through the chaos, set the small goals, and take the first step towards pursuing your purpose. Most importantly, lean on your faith because God is with you every step of the way. In fact, He is the one who gives you strength to pursue your purpose. Remember that. And lastly, I love to hear how today's episode impacted you. Send me a message or share your thoughts on social media. You can find me on Instagram at Purpose Walk Ministries. And don't forget to join our Purpose Walk community by hopping over to www.bettymichellemc.com. Remember to grab the episode note catcher to jot down key points from today's episode. Let's continue supporting each other as we navigate this journey together. Please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with anyone you think might benefit from today's message. Your support helps us reach more people who are seeking purpose in their lives. I just want to thank you for tuning in today. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Until next time, keep walking on purpose, keep shining your light, and remember that you are loved, you are enough, and you are exactly where God needs you to be. Stay blessed.